Alright guys, so this is the first video in a series of how to build this first project, the motion sensor, or the light sensor circuit. So I'm just going to walk you through building this circuit on the simulation in a few videos. So first of all, let's talk about how to tackle a schematic that looks really complicated, for example. So we've got this schematic. This is our schematic for the project, and there's a lot going on here. So if I make this a little bigger so we can see it, there's a lot going on in this circuit, and looking at it at first glance might look really overwhelming. But the point that we have to remember is each path can be treated on its own. You can build each one of these paths all on their own. You don't have to worry about getting overwhelmed. So let's just take it one step at a time. So I'm going to highlight. So I've made a different picture. So let's get rid of the whole schematic. Let's break it down. All right, so we've got here. Okay, this is our first level schematic. All right, so if you notice in the original picture, I can separate these out. So if you see pin number 1 right here, it's the same as pin number 1 here. It just looks complicated, but these wires and these paths go off in different directions. But pin 1 just has a single wire running all the way over here to ground. And it's the same with pin 8. Pin 8 has a single wire running all the way over to source. And then on the top, since it's also fairly simple, connected to ground on one side and connected to source on the other, I've got a capacitor. All right, it's a polarized capacitor. I drew it the correct way over here. So I just isolated. I got rid of all the other wires and drawings and symbols and all that, and I made it as simple as possible. So let's talk about connecting this. So I'm going to minimize this. So you should be able to get to this screen on your own. Now, it's kind of small, so I want to zoom in. One way to zoom in, really simple, is to do a two-finger scroll. So if you scroll down or up, you'll notice that the components, the breadboard, get smaller and bigger. So if I scroll down, okay, it's a little too big. If I scroll back up, and I can click on the white space, or I can click on the breadboard and drag it over. So recenter it, and that's a pretty good size. I'm going to keep it like that. All right, so if I look at my schematic, my bare bones schematic, I've really just got two things. I've got this 555 timer and a polarized capacitor. So let's start with the polarized capacitor. Let's go from the top down. So let's start with my polarized capacitor. I got to go into my components. And I want to scroll down. I want to scroll around until I find the polarized capacitor. It's right here. And it's about a quarter of the way down if you scroll from the top. So I'm going to click it once. And it's stuck to my mouse. And it's made so I can I'll slip it into one of these. So let's put it there. All right. Now, if you notice, I've actually got it. I can actually see which one is positive and which one is negative. So that pin is positive, that pin is negative. All right. So I'm gonna, since this one's not in a hole, what you want to do is you want to click on the positive pin and just drag a wire over there. Yours should just look like that. Okay, but it's not yet connected to ground or source. And if we look at our picture again, okay, we've got the positive end connected to source and the negative end connected to ground. So because these holes are not yet connected to source and ground, I need to take a wire over here and pull it to the source, and take a wire from here and pull it to ground. Just like that. Now I have it connected to source and ground. The next thing that I'm going to want to do, because I'm going to use on this project, I'm going to use both sides of the breadboard. That's probably just best. It's good to get in the habit of taking a wire and connecting positive to positive on both sides. So I'll take positive, connect to positive. And just to keep track of it, I'm going to change the color to red so we know that that's positive. and I'm going to take negative to negative. So that one's black. That's just so if I plug in my source here and my ground here, that means that the other side of the breadboard also gets connected to source and ground. So it's good to get in the habit of that. Okay, so that's the first part. Second part, if you look down here, we need to find this 555 timer. So I'm going to go back into my components, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. And keep scrolling until I find, okay, there's something that looks like it, but it's not a 555 timer. So let's keep going. A little further, still nothing yet. Nothing yet. Oh, there we go. Look at that, 555 timer. So I'm going to click it once, and I'm just going to set it here because I want to rotate it this way. So I'm going to click the rotate button until it's up and down. Now, when you start using integrated circuits, pin number 1 is always going to be symbolized by a little dot here. All right, so we know that this is pin number 1. So you can compare this to our picture. Pin number 1 is the upper left. Then we've got pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, so integrated circuits are made really conveniently to just sit right in the middle of a breadboard. So when you put your 555 timer on the breadboard, it should snap into both sets of holes. So why don't we put it in the middle of the breadboard between row 10 and row 13. All right, so it should look like that. All right, we're almost there. We're almost done with the first part. Okay. If we notice, pin number 1 just has a wire going to ground, and pin number 8 has a wire going to source. So I'm going to pick any one of these holes. I'll just pick this one for convenience. And this goes to the source, and pin 1 goes to ground. And that's it for getting the project started. You're already a few steps in. All right, so once you've watched this a couple of times, make sure yours looks like mine. We're going to move on to the next part.